Loaded slate in the NBA tonight. Paolo Banchero goes off and the Magic get a win. The Lakers lose in a game LeBron just didn't have it for. We'll talk about all that and more on Locked On NBA. It's game night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NBA Game Night. Your team every day.
And welcome. You are Locked On to NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer and making Locked On NBA your first listen today. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, as always, from Locked On Bucks, what you got for me, Camille Davis?
I'd have a lot more if the Bucks could actually win a game. It's a tough 3 in a row there, Nick. A tough 3 in a row there.
Can't start sad on the show. Like this is your opportunity to not have to care about the Bucks today, right? Like,
I mean, the Pacers also lost, so I can take some joy in that.
There's some solace there. So, yeah, game night. We're covering every single game. 11 games on the slate tonight. So we'll get right into them. We'll talk about all of them. And let's get into this first one right here. The Indiana Pacers lose to the Orlando Magic, much to Camille Davis's excitement and enjoyment. Let's hear from Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, where Paolo Banchero has just dropped 50 points to help the Orlando Magic defeat the Indiana Pacers 119-114. He set so many Magic records, including most points in a half, or tying most points in a half with Tracy McGrady with 37 in the first half. But as you can tell, to get to 50, he slowed down a little bit in the third quarter. And that's really where this game was won for the Orlando Magic, because it wasn't just the 50 points that Paolo Banchero scored that the Magic needed every single one of. It was the 13 rebounds and 9 assists too. Yes, that's right. He had a 50-13-9 game on efficient shooting. He was, missed only 10 shots, I believe, 16 for 26 or something to that effect. More shots than that. I have the stats wrong, but whatever the case,
he was right.
It was everything that Paolo Banchero did to make sure the Magic won this game. He played lockdown defense on Pascal Siakam over the final minutes, and on the most critical play of the game, he passed to Jalen Suggs, who found Anthony Black in the corner for 3. A historic night for the Orlando Magic and a big win.
I did not think I would hear he found the pass to Anthony Black for 3 as like the key play of the game there.
3.
Of the game. Having done a lot of draft prep on Anthony Black in the draft, I did not think that would be a thing we'd be saying. But Paolo Banchero, the story of this one, 37 points in the first half. Like you said, tied Tracy McGrady for most in a half for Orlando. 50 points. Just the 7th 50-point game in Magic history. I was surprised by that number. Only 7 total in their history. And for me in this one, Franz Wagner leaves at halftime with an illness. He only played about 10 minutes. And so you started to see this Orlando offense just really needed Paolo Banchero to give them all 50 of those points in this game, Camille.
They absolutely did. And I mean, before we get to Paolo, shout out to Jalen Suggs, who kind of got them started. He was 4-4 from 3 to open the game up, just kind of got the ball rolling as Paolo also got into the game, who was in a great flow. Watching somebody go for 50 is always fun. The Pacers defense in the third quarter in particular stepped up. They were a lot more doubles. They were making it more difficult. I wasn't sure if he'd actually be able to get to that 50, but in the fourth quarter, he kept at it and he was able to knock down some key baskets. And it was the fact that Paolo was able to get it from all over the court. He was hitting mid-rangers. He was hitting threes. He was using his strength to get to the rim. Like, it was like anywhere on the court, Paolo felt comfortable. And I saw post-game, he said, like, I knew early on it was going to be a special night for me.
Real quick side note here. It's not always enjoyable to watch somebody drop 50. Jamal Crawford dropped 50 in Dirk's last home game of his career, and that was awful. I hated every single second of that for him. But
50 ball ever.
Philip mentioned that third quarter, and that was really a key stretch for them. Orlando's up by 13 with 9:37 left in that third quarter, and by 4:44, so like 5 minutes later, Indiana was up 6. There was a huge swing there. Paolo only scored 4 points, and so that third quarter run was really big. And then the fourth quarter, Indiana was up 5 with 5 minutes to go, and then just 3 minutes later, Orlando was up 3 because Paolo Banchero just kept barreling to the rim. He just kept pushing past Neesmith, who ended up fouling out, and then he got a technical, and so that was a big play. Just a huge end of this game, and then the free throws that were huge by Suggs, by Anthony Black that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, big contribution from everybody on that Heat team or the Magic team. And one thing about this matchup in particular that is so big about it is the fact that last season these two teams tied with the same record. It came down to that head-to-head record between the two of these teams in order for playoff seeding, where the Pacers end up being that 6 seed, the Magic were the 5 seed, and you have a game early on in this season where you still see these two teams really going at each other. The Magic come out on top of it, and it's another game that probably is going to have some playoff implications down the line, just if the East goes the way that I think it will.
Absolutely. And so the Magic get that one. They got to feel good about it. They already got a game against the Heat, which was big for them. And so they're all of a sudden racking up some wins. The Magic are looking really good, and they're starting to win games with, one of their stars goes out, different things happen, and they're starting to win games in a bunch of different ways, which is cool for Orlando. Let's talk about another team winning games in a bunch of different ways. The Phoenix Suns winning some games all of a sudden. Let's hear from Ben Garcia from Locked On Suns.
Suns put away the Los Angeles Lakers 109-105. A bunch of key takeaways to get to in this game, so let's just jump right into it. Benjamin Garcia, Locked On Phoenix Suns, and don't worry, Suns fans, Devin Booker is back and better than ever, adding in his own 30-plus point night and doing it mostly in the painted area. Not necessarily a lot of mid-range jumpers from Booker, something different to his game he's adding this year. Kevin Durant as well added to the scoring bonanza, getting his own 30-piece and just making bucket after bucket and showing everyone he has the clutch gene in that fourth quarter. Some honorable mentions. Royce O'Neal in this game, doing it on both ends of the floor along with his running mate, Ryan Dunn, as well as some multiple offensive adjustments from Mike Budenholzer, ultimately leading the way for another Phoenix Suns dub, and they have beaten LA.
Always good when you can beat LA. I feel like everybody in the West is excited about that. Suns get the win. He mentioned the 30 points from Kevin Durant. He had 8 straight points in that fourth quarter when it was tied like 101. And Kevin Durant, just 8 straight buckets. The Lakers just had nobody. They couldn't send AD over to try and defend him because of the way that their defense is set up. And so KD was just feasting on the Lakers late.
He was, and KD, with this performance tonight, became the oldest player in NBA history to start a season with 4 straight 25-point-plus games. So KD came into the season in that Olympic form. Devin Booker kind of had a slow start, but as we saw in this game, both of those guys were firing on all cylinders. And the Ryan Dunn love, because the Lakers got off to a hot start in this game. And then during that second quarter, you saw the Suns really fighting back, and Ryan Dunn defensively was a big part of that. He is one of those rookies where it's like, man, if you didn't go so early, I wish the Bucks could have gotten some of that perimeter defense.
It's like the highest compliment from somebody else, like the fan of a team, like, we wish we would have drafted you.
Always. Ryan Dunn is one of those guys who was on my short list of like draft prospects. So when he went to the Suns, I was like, a great pickup. I thought that he would do really well in Bud's system. And also, shout out to Mike Budenholzer making adjustments. Shout out to Coach Bud. I'm here.
That's like that's like the breakup when you see like the person you broke up with started going to the gym. Like, oh, good for you. Like making went to therapy. Too. Like good job. Yeah, Bud did lose some weight. Good for you to start to take care of yourself. Good win from the Suns. The exact opposite of the game that these two teams played the other day, where the Suns got out to this really hot start and then the Lakers ended up taking them down at the end. Kevin Durant, 38 minutes again. I'm on KD minutes watch. I feel like this is like the 8th time I've said this on different platforms, but man, a 36-year-old playing this many minutes is interesting. We do have to mention LeBron though. Just 11 points and got a 3 with 2 minutes left to save his 10-point double-digit streak that's over 1,000 games, which is wild. It's longer than Richard Jefferson's career. He said that on the broadcast the other day, which was wild. But LeBron just could not get anything going in this game. 3 of 14 from the field, hit 2 threes. So that means he was 1 of 9 on 2s in this game. -17, the only starter for the Lakers negative in the plus-minus. Just a weird game for LeBron James.
And normally the Lakers couldn't overcome a poor LeBron James game and make it competitive. So the fact that the Lakers only lost by 4 in a game where LeBron James played that bad, 3 of 14 from the field overall. He was even 50% at the free throw line, which I know some people used to point to that when he was younger, but that's an area where he's been a lot more consistent as he's gotten older. So give credit to Anthony Davis being able to carry the load that he has, for the coaching job that JJ's been doing for the Lakers as well to keep them competitive, even on a night where LeBron doesn't have it. And that used to sink the Lakers in years past.
Yeah, look at you with the glass half full.
I mean, they're 3-1. They haven't had a start this good since, like, was it 2011 or something like that? Yeah, 2010, 2011 season when they went 8-0. So, like, hey, I'm going to give the Lakers some credit. We don't know how long it's going to last. So we give them the credit while it's here.
The glass is half full now, but let's talk about the Bucks coming up. But maybe half empty. When we talk about them, let's also talk about the Cavs getting another win and talk about all that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, and you too can go to all kinds of different things. Curation from Game Time Picks makes it easier to go to sports, concerts, comedy, theater. I've done all those with Game Time. Go to the Game Time app or go to the Game Time website, gametime.co, and you can just browse, peruse, see all the different things. Right now, this is what they've curated for me right now in Dallas. Eagles at Cowboys, $43 to get in there. Sabrina Carpenter, and they've also put up here a bunch of different other sporting events, a Dallas Stars game, SMU football, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, big pass. Big 12 football, Lincoln Park, a bunch of different things. Think about all the different things you can see on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDON for $20 ONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Count it up.
All right, Camille, let's get back into the games of the night in the NBA. We talked about the Magic win, talked about the Suns win. Let's get into, yes, the Boston Celtics get a win against your Milwaukee Bucks. What did you see from, let's start with the Celtics in this one. They improved to 4-0. They're so great. Everything's great for them. What did you see from the Celtics?
I mean, listen, they came into the game. Jason Tatum was the NBA's third leading scorer heading into the game, averaging 33 points. The Bucks did a good job on Tatum, right? He only had 15 points, but Peyton Pritchard had 28. He was 8 of 12 from 3. So he single-handedly, by himself, had as many threes as the entire Milwaukee Bucks team. And that's really one of the biggest stories from the game. The Bucks went 8 of 31 from 3. The Celtics went 18 of 47. It's hard to win a game when the opponent makes 10 more threes than you in the game.
This is just what the Celtics do. It's a math problem, and they've figured out a way. Joe Mazzulla has done a great job. This team obviously does a great job of just putting guys out there that hit threes. They don't even have Porzingis yet, and so that's something to watch out with this team. But they just get them up. I mean, 47. How did they create some of these threes? And then Peyton Pritchard, I saw the video of Doc Rivers keeled over, just like exasperated, watching Peyton Pritchard hit another three. But how did Peyton Pritchard go off for 28 points, 8 of 12 from 3 in this one?
It's just sometimes the Bucks get lost defensively. When they get put into scramble situations, a lot of times they just aren't clean and clear on who needs to be where. And honestly, for the Celtics in this particular game, in the first half, they got up a lot more threes. The Bucks were doing a better job of trying to get them off of the line in the second half. It's just that the Celtics were more effective with their threes in the second half than they were in the first. So although they shot less threes in the second half, they had more of them fall. I believe they shot like 47 or 48% from 3 in the second half alone. Oof. So it was just tough to overcome. Like you mentioned, the Celtics are designed to get a lot of threes up. In the first half, they weren't making as many, and the Bucks were able to kind of keep it close. But the math problem started becoming a big problem when the Bucks kept settling for twos because Giannis kept driving and forcing his will on the game.
Did you feel like the Celtics were just lurking the whole time? They were just waiting? Or they're just waiting for those to go in, or they're waiting for just, all right, time's about to run out on us. Let's just go on this run.
They're too good. The Celtics are too good. And to beat the Celtics, you have to come with your A game, which is partly why I was concerned coming in the game, because we haven't seen the Bucks A game against the Bulls or the Nets, but they do tend to show up with better effort against more competitive teams. So better effort for the Bucks on the second night of a back-to-back, but the Celtics were just too much to overcome.
The Bucks, Giannis and Lillard both dropped 30, 17 rebounds and 13 assists combined for those two. People have talked about their chemistry, how it's not there. They have the worst chemistry of any two stars. I've seen people say that. What have you seen from the Bucks, that duo in this game and then so far this season?
It's interesting, right? Because it's a small sample size, but so far the early returns on the plus minus with the two of them sharing the court hasn't been as good as it was last year. Like last year, they were like plus 10 on the court together. So far this season, it's been like +1. Like it's been a very different game for the Bucks, but the chemistry is developing between the two. The chemistry with Dame and Brooke continues to be something really worth watching. They have a great chemistry together on a pick and roll. And in this particular game, big shout out to Dame for finding his way to the free throw line 18 times. That helped him on the night where the three ball wasn't falling for him. So he was able to continue to generate points. So I love to see that from Dame. Love seeing him be able to finish around the rim. As for Giannis, 26 shot attempts tonight, a lot for him, the most aggressive we've seen. And I got to shout out Al Horford because the fact that Al Horford can still play that type of defense on Giannis is impressive at that age.
It's that Dominican blood, he's just
the ageless wonder.
Just the ageless. It's the eyes. I think it's the eyes that makes him defend so well. You just get lost in him as he's defending you. Like you can't just look at him and be like, all right, let's just. Oh yeah. Celtics win another game. It is what it is. Do you feel like there's a path for the Bucks to beat the Celtics at a certain point in the season? Maybe like not in a game, but like in a playoffs type setting. Is there a path for the Bucks to work their way to get to there?
Things will look different when they have Chris Middleton back. The Bucks are missing that third primary scorer. You see some gaps in their shot creation as well when Dame is on the bench. They just don't have too much of it. So when Chris comes back, I can see a formula for him, but they're going to have to really be tight when it comes to defensive rotations and figuring out what their key rotation is going to be going forward. Because some of the defensive efforts we've seen from bench stalwarts like Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton hasn't been good enough.
That didn't sound like a very confident answer to me.
I got to keep it real right now, Nick. It's early.
The glass is less full than it was.
The Bucks actually drink from that glass at this point. That's what's happening.
Oh my God! All right, the Cavs get a win against the New York Knicks and 110-104. Let's hear from our guy Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs on the win.
Cavaliers moved to 4-0 on Monday night thanks to a big win in New York over the Knicks. Reason number one why the Cavs won this game was the play of Darius Garland. He was absolutely fantastic for the Cavs in this victory. He finished with 34 points, had a huge fourth quarter that was able to get the Cavs not only coming back down from double digits, but put them firmly in control of this game in the fourth quarter. I thought this was the best game Garland has played in well over a year. He was absolutely terrific for the Cavs. If that keeps up, it's going to be a big reason why the Cavs are going to be taken more seriously as a contender. Reason number two why the Cavs won this game, they limited New York's offensive rebounding. The Knicks had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half, only 2 in the second half. That's a big reason why the Cavs won this game. Up next, they've got the Lakers and LeBron James coming to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on Wednesday night.
I don't care so much about that, but the Cavs get a win, and Darius Garland, 34 points, great game for him in this one. On the other side, Karl-Anthony Towns fouled out in this game late in this one, but the Cavs come back from down double digits. The Knicks were up by 13 in the third quarter, and then the Cavs end up making this comeback. What did you see from the Cavs in this one?
I saw a team that did not lose sight of what they knew they could do despite the scoreboard not being in their favor. We've seen this Cavs team get punched in the mouth before. I think back to the playoff series they had actually against the Knicks 2 years ago, where it was just kind of like, it's not looking good for Cleveland, and the Knicks got the best of them.
Out toughness too, like
the toughness. Yes, that whole aspect. Like, this is a Cavs team that seems like it's matured and like they're really ready for this. After the Cavs got off to that 3-0 start, I mean, all the wins were over, projected lottery teams. But I saw that Donovan Mitchell actually gave a speech to his teammates after they won on Saturday, just to say like, hey, we took care of business. We did what we were supposed to do. But don't get comfortable, because now the comp is coming up and we're really going to see what we're made of. We got to see if our habits can continue with tougher opponents, with tougher games. And they came against these Knicks in a situation where it wasn't looking like it was going to be great for them, especially when the Knicks went on their run and they found a way to win. So I'm impressed by this Cavs team.
He goes, listen, you see the Yankees? We're going to treat them like the Yankees. This Knicks team is going to lose just like the Yankees are losing right now.
Had to get that one off, eh?
I had to get that one off. The Cavs, Danny mentioned it, that they should be taken more seriously as a contender. Let's do a little quick. Should the Cavs be taken seriously as a contender right now?
Yes, they should. There is a chance for the Cavs to be that team and come out the East. They're built for it. And I mean, I was impressed by them last year, the fact that they were able to rack up as many wins as they did, despite having key injuries to key players for large chunks of the season. So if they can stay healthy and the improvement that we've seen from Mobley is real and Garland can continue to play at a high level, like you got to take them serious.
It's on Mobley to make that change because we still are waiting on the great wing of the Cavs to like emerge. They really haven't found that key piece yet. Dean Wade is starting in this game, went 0-5 from 3. Max Strus was out in this one, but they just don't have that piece. But if Mobley can be good enough and can be versatile enough, he had 17 and 8 in this game. If that can happen, then all of a sudden, yeah, we should be taking the Cavs a little bit more seriously, especially since, I mean, contender. It's just like, all right, how many games can you take off the Celtics at this point, right? Like that's still a contender in the East.
Yeah, the Celtics, I think, deserve to be in a tier of their own. And then underneath them, it's like, which of those teams in the East is going to be the biggest threat? And the Cavs is a team that should be on that short list for sure.
For sure. Coming up, let's break down the rest of these games. Luka has his worst shooting game of his career. How did the Mavs get a win? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
Count it up.
Big chicken, baby.
Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
It's Counted Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. And let's go through the rest of these games real quick here. The Mavs get a win over the Utah Jazz. Not a very convincing win. It's Luka's worst shooting game of his entire career. He went 5 of 22. He's never had a worse game where he's taken at least 22 shots. My question for you in this one is it better that the Mavs won this game considering how bad he shot, or is it concerning that Luka played this bad?
Bad games happen every so often. You would want that bad game to happen in an October regular season game rather than the playoffs. So listen, the fact that the Mavs were able to find a way to win regardless of that, Luka almost shot my birthday. I was born May 23rd. That man almost shot my birthday tonight. But no, you should take solace in the fact they found a way to win.
Yeah, it's a different Mavs team. In the past, literally last year, Luka had a game where he shot that bad against the Pelicans, and they lost that game really badly. But this one, you get good contributions from Kyrie Irving, who had 23 points and 9 assists. Klay Thompson, another game with 18 points. He's had 22 points, 19 points, and 18 points in his first 3 games for the Mavericks. So Klay is fitting in really well. You get great defense from Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford with some huge blocks at the rim. The Jazz are also very bad. Like this is not a good team. Like shouts to our boss, David Locke. And I saw him tonight and got to talk to him, but 79 more games of that. I like prayers up to our boss.
When you get to that point, that's when, like, after every game, you just look at the big board again, like, okay, like who should I be scouting this college basketball season? So that's all that's what you count on.
That's what we're doing. And we're going to keep counting on. Let's hear from Joe Molinax of Locked On Grizzlies about the Grizzlies' loss to the Chicago Bulls tonight.
It is only 1 of 82. That is important perspective to keep. However, the Memphis Grizzlies did not play Ja Morant in this contest. The Memphis Grizzlies were up by as many as 20 points in this contest. And yet, once again, a poor third quarter and a sloppy second half dooms Memphis at home in a game that they should have won against the Chicago Bulls. I'm Joe Molinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and 25 made threes is the number that really kind of sticks out in your mind's eye when you look at this box score. Chicago had way too many open threes, way too many opportunities, but I would argue that other numbers should stick out to you in terms of why Memphis lost this game. Marcus Smart being 0 in terms of scoring the basketball, not making a single shot despite taking double-digit attempts. Jaren Jackson Jr. playing 25 or so minutes, not nearly enough for a Memphis Grizzlies team that has to keep up in the loaded Western Conference.
I'm going to out Joe here. I texted him about this game, and he said that the Grizzlies cost themselves a win by playing it overly cautious with Jaren Jackson Jr.'s hamstring injury that he's recovering from. My question is, Do you think they played it too cautious in this one, or do you think you've got to put the health of your one of your star players ahead of like they literally took a loss because he played 24 minutes and like Scottie Pippen Jr. played 30, Jake LaRavia played 30, Eldama played 35, Ja Morant didn't play in this game, but they could have gotten a win if Jaren Jackson could just play a little more.
Yeah, but it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a long season. You don't want to aggravate things like that. And soft tissue injuries, hamstrings, calves, things like that, they can linger. So you definitely have to be careful. And I get that Jaren Jackson himself wanted to play too. He was like, I wish I could skip these steps of like having to have a minutes limit, but I understand it's part of the process. So yeah, I'm cool with the minute restriction at this point. It's October still. It's a marathon.
It's a tough one. It's just a tough one, like as a competitor, as somebody that wants the team to win, to look at a game like this and be like, you know what? We're calling this one an L because of we've got to look at games in March and February and worry about that, because last year they had the season from hell because of some of these types of injuries. And so I'm cool with them playing it cautious if the Grizzlies really want to.
Same here.
Team that couldn't play it cautious at all was the Denver Nuggets, who finally got a win, but in overtime against the Raptors. Let's hear from our guy, Ryan Blackburn of the Locked On Nuggets podcast on their win.
Tremendous win for the Denver Nuggets in overtime. It took a village, took everybody, but mostly it took Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic obviously goes for 40 points, dominates this one, looks great doing it. Back-to-back 40-point games for Nikola Jokic. Can't say anything about his production for the team, that's for sure. Jamal Murray, 6 of 20, but as it turns out, one of those was the most important shot of the game-tying overtime layup, reverse layup over the defense. Really impressive shot. Denver needed this one super badly. This was one of those situations where a win is a win is a win. You knew that Denver would be having to fight for this one, even though the Toronto Raptors were shorthanded. Nuggets finally get a win on the docket. Let's see if they can start racking them up on this road trip.
My question is for this one. Is a win a win a win a win? Do you believe in like moral losses in some wins? It had to go to overtime against the Raptors.
I do believe in wins a win, a win's a win. I do prescribe to that notion, and they just needed to get into the win column as soon as possible. But a lot of the things that have been negatives for the Nuggets over their first two games reared their heads again. Like, there are some real questions about this bench. It's like whenever Nikola Jokic sits down for a while, it's going to be in the favor of the opposing team. And it's been like that for a while now, but it feels early on in this season that's even exasperated even more with how this team is currently constructed.
I subscribe to the Ted Lasso theory that you can win a game and still lose. And I think that this is when you win a game. It's like, yeah, it'll look like a W in the win column for a while now, but man, they've got to come up with some convincing wins, and they've got some things to figure out. You can't just, like, if the only way you can win is Jokic goes off for 40, Jamal Murray hits a real clutch bucket, and you go to overtime against the Raptors, that's concerning to me just looking forward. And yeah, the problems, everybody knows the problems, their bench, the non-Jokic lineups. Jamal Murray has not been super great to start this season. Westbrook, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I don't know that this is like I don't feel super great about this win, but I guess Ryan's right that a win is a win is a win.
Yeah, it's not one that you're going to celebrate heavily, but you're going to be like, "Woof, we got that one. It's all far back now."
Yeah, you get one drink after this win.
Yeah,
one drink. You don't get multiple. Yeah,
you don't go crazy.
You can't go crazy. Speaking of a team that's got one, let's talk about let's hear from Brandon Scott. The Wizards get a win. They may not get many of these. Let's hear from Brandon Scott after the Wizards win.
The Washington Wizards defeat the Atlanta Hawks for their first victory of the season, 121-119 in Atlanta. And how did they win this game, guys? Easy. A combined 51 points by Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. But how else did the Wizards win this game? Man, well, you would have thought that Tom Berenger was on the court, man, because they were sniping. If you look at the three-point numbers tonight, Jordan Poole, 6 for 8 from 3. Kyle Kuzma, 5 for 9 for 3. And if you look at the second unit, Corey Kispert, 4 for 9 for 3, and Bob Carrington, 3 for 4 from 3. So they were sniping. So the Washington Wizards earned their first victory of the year in Atlanta against the Atlanta Hawks, 121-119. But they will be playing Atlanta again Wednesday night in D.C. So we'll see if they can get 2 in a row versus an in-division foe in the Atlanta Hawks.
There you go. Win for the Wizards. But my question is, was this the least hyped number 1 versus number 2 in the draft game ever that we've ever had? Because it was Ricochet versus Sar, and like nobody was talking about this game. We waited until 30 minutes into the show to talk about this game.
Absolutely. Like that definitely is one of the least anticipated 1 versus 2s that we've seen in quite some time, because that's not even a headline. Like you mentioned, it's the 3rd segment here. They're one of the last teams to talk about, but regardless, hey, shout out to the Wizards for getting that first win. We don't know how many more they're going to get, but shout out to them for getting this one.
Ricochet, 1 of 8 in this game. Alex Sar, 3 of 11. I think we're okay not making it a big deal on this one. Kind of a big deal, though. The Pistons just keep losing games. We feel bad. Kuka Hill Locked On Pistons. How did the Pistons drop this one? 4 in a row now in the 4th quarter.
Locked On Pistons host Kuka Hill here. The Detroit Pistons, yet again, go into the 4th quarter with a lead, have momentum, have a chance to win a game against a really quality team in the Miami Heat, and they fall apart down the stretch again. For the 4th, what seems like the 4th straight game, they go completely cold. Nobody's able to hit shots. Their veterans aren't able to hit shots. Malik Beasley shoots 1 of 12 in this game. Tobias missed all of his threes in this game again. Cade Cunningham dealt with foul trouble throughout this game after starting off the game 6 of 6, 13 points in the 1st quarter, got in foul trouble, and they just weren't able to ride his hot hand, and he was constantly having to be subbed out. Then he started not hitting shots in the 4th quarter, with all of that being really tough. Jaden Ivey didn't have the greatest game throughout the entire game. Did start to hit some shots at the end of the 4th quarter, somewhat garbage time, but didn't have a great game. The Pistons, they've had a chance each 4th quarter, and they've just fallen apart each time.
My question for you on this one, Camille, is what gives? You said the Pistons were going to be good this year.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
No, I'm still on board. Listen, 24 wins at least for the Pistons. I think it's still coming, Nick. I'm glad I didn't go crazy with the over-unders. So I said, hey, they can still come under the projected over-under and still hit the 24-game mark. I still believe. It's
growth that they've been in these 4th quarters, I think, because it was tied going into the 4th quarter in this one. So yeah, I think that there's some growth there. There's some things to work on there. Some things to move forward with.
They're right there. They're playing some good comp too, and they're hanging in all these games.
The Rockets got a win against the Spurs. They played this 2 games in a row, basically, Spurs and Rockets, and they've split them now. Jalen Green might be right there with a leap. 36 points, 7 of 13 from 3. He's averaging 28.8 points a game. He would be the youngest Rocket ever with 25 points. My question is this the Jalen Green leap year?
I think so. He got that contract. He got that bag. He's ready to go. I think that Jalen Green is going to have him one of those seasons. He's just an electric scoring guard. Like he has it in all the ways that you will want for your guard to be able to get to the bucket. So like, I'm here for it. I could see him being the Rockets' first, 25 point per game scorer of. I can see it.
The youngest Rocket ever to score 25 points a game. That's what he would be.
I can see it.
Continues on this. Yeah, interesting for him. Last one here. The Kings get their first win of the season. Shout out to the Beam. Finally gets lit there for the Kings. Finally, it's been like 3 games, but I want to focus on something that's completely not basketball related at all. But it does have a ball in it because there was a ball, like a foam ball, thrown into the stands. You know how they do that at games? And one of them got stuck on a tarp. And this is one of the top posts on the Kings Reddit after the game. These 2 guys on either side of the tarp is over the tunnel. It's this big like awning over the tunnel. And these 2 guys on either side are like throwing it up and down like a parachute, like the parachute you used to do in gym class, trying to get this ball off of the tarp. And they're doing it for like a long time. My question is, how long would you try to get that ball off the tarp during a game? Like, how long would it take you before you give up?
Here's the answer. You might not like it. As long as it takes. Because once I start, I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm able to actually dislodge it from the awning. So it's like, you hope it's quick. But once you're invested, you got to see it through.
Like, I think to me, it comes down to, so aren't the 2 guys on either end of this fighting now for this ball? Or is it just now we're working together? Like together, we've now found a common ground. We're working together. We'll give this to some kid, whoever's closest to us.
I think it's the teamwork. I think it's just the fact of, hey, we got into this together, you and me. we're going to figure out how to get this ball off this awning together. Like, we got to do it. I don't know what they did with it once they finally got it off. If
I don't think the video ended before they got it off. So I don't know that they ever did. It could still be there.
What if it is still there and it's going to be some other fans the next game trying to see if they can be the ones to get it off? It becomes a thing. It
becomes a thing. They just keep going back to it. Oh my gosh. Well, Count It Up is a thing we keep going back to. So there's all the games in the NBA. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Go listen to Locked On any of these shows that we mentioned today, but Locked On Bucks, Locked On Mavericks. We got great stuff going all the time. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Locked On NBA Daily with Doug Branson, Matt Moore, and Hayes is up next.